Okay, Tuesday, we've had an interesting Tuesday, and now probably the most interesting part of Tuesday is Duane Lancon. She's the CEO of Ho'okele. Ho'okele is a corporation that she founded, nonprofit, is it?
No, it's a
corporation,
for-profit
which
partnership.
is actually good because they do tend to last longer, I think.
Well, it gives us a little more flexibility,
Yeah.
I think.
So she formed that, after your days at Hawaii Pacific Health.
That's
wasn't it?
correct.
Yeah.
Very good, Jay.
And the idea was to use technology to help seniors at home.
That is correct.
And you've done that more than anybody I know in the state of Hawaii. I think you've done that. You have been relentless in doing that. So first, let's go back to, we're calling this show, by the way, Senior Technology at Home, part of our Aging with Grace series on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. So Duane, let's talk about your background, how you got involved in this. When I met you, you were working up to be the CEO, the chair of the Hawaii Science and Technology Council.
Yes.
Which was quite a thing in those days. This was in the middle 2005 or so.
That's right.
And you were also way up high in the hierarchy of Hawaii Pacific Health.
Right.
Kapiolani Hospital and all those. Okay, somewhere along the line, the bug bit you about senior stuff, about aging with grace. Tell us about it.
Well, my last role at Hawaii Pacific Health was as a chief strategy officer, and part of my job was to survey the landscape, what were the trends in healthcare, what was going on, and how the health system should respond to it. So one of the big issues, of course, was the aging tsunami, right? We knew that the baby boomers were moving into the older population, that the older population are higher utilizers of the healthcare system, and what was that going to do to the system, for the hospital system and whatnot. So I spent a lot of time actually doing research and traveling around the country looking at the problem, what the emerging solutions were coming up, and it was a very clear trend towards moving healthcare into the home. As you said, in the middle 2000s, broadband was just becoming pretty ubiquitous in the home. Telehealth, which had been around for 20 years in the military system particularly, was just starting to become more affordable, more reliable. And I think across the country, everyone was realizing we couldn't continue to care for our seniors the way we were caring for them, primarily in institutional settings. It was much too expensive, and the country would be crushed under this cost if we continued down this path. It was a very interesting dilemma to think about. But there were a few solutions I saw as I traveled the mainland, looking at using smart home technology and what today we call Internet of Things, the gadgets that go in people's houses. Back then that wasn't what it was called, but today that's what it's called. And starting to use that to monitor and predict. Predict.
Oh, we need to talk about that.
Of the elderly, and being able to anticipate their needs so that you could reduce the overall cost of care by allowing people to stay in their own home, which 90% of people want to stay in their own home anyway.
Yeah, it's not only to reduce cost, it's a matter of providing a quality of life, yeah.
Lifestyle, independence, continue to being empowered. So as with so many things with technology empowers the individual. So can technology empower seniors to really stay at home where they want to be.
God, you're in the perfect place for this.
Oh, it is.
Between HPH and Science and Technology Council, it was the sweetest storm of an intersection right there.
Right, and it was that convergence, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got so interested in this to the point where I decided I wanted to pursue this on my own and figure out how to help seniors stay at home, as well as, I have parents today in their 80s, and I want to help them stay at home because they want to stay at home.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. Anyone that's been through an elder care scenario knows it is very complicated, very emotional, very frustrating.
And it's not the only problem. There are other things they miss too. The aging, but they still have to have healthcare.
Exactly.
Still have to have all this other stuff, so it's one element, right?
That's right, it's only one element. So I got so impassioned by this thought that myself and my two business partners, Bonnie Castonguay and at the time Dr. Neil Wynn, we decided to form Ho'okele, and Ho'okele means navigator, as you know. So how could we help families and seniors navigate this complex maze of issues to be able to stay at home? So we first started our business as a professional services, just the three of us offering consultative services to families. That then led into home care, because a part of staying at home is getting caregivers to come to the home, nurse aides or companions to come and help you, assist you with their activities of daily living at home. Now, as we started that business and that business began to grow, we began to feel how obsolete the industry was. Everything was manual, everything was on paper, everything was driving to visit the home, extremely costly. And even today, many of our clients pay between $5,000 and $15,000 a month to receive this care in their home.
Is it 24 hours or just during the business day?
Well, 24 hours would be 15,000.
Okay.
And I began to think, well, one, this was a very antiquated process today. Two, not many people in our community can afford that. So what is the solution for the vast majority of individuals, and primarily the middle class, right? Because those with higher income are paying for this kind of service. Many who can't afford it are paid for by Medicaid and the state to some extent. But the middle class really has no solution, and unless you invested in long-term care insurance early on in your career, it's really the private assets of individuals.
But not many people have, actually.
Not many people have that. So we began to think, and many of our customers would come to us in desperation, I really need help, but ultimately said, I can't afford this. And they're frustrated and they're stressed.
These are middle-class people who have worked all their lives, been relatively successful, saved money.
Yep.
It's still not enough.
Still not enough. And then their children, their adult children, were becoming burdened, trying to work full-time, take care of their own children, and then having to take care of mom and dad. So we also started to see employers saying, this is a big problem because my employees have to go part-time or quit their job to take care of their parents.
Because they've got to take care of mom and dad.
Right, which then exacerbates our already tight workforce
And
situation.
then there was this dreadful scenario where mom and dad would run out of money, and they would get into this fiction about disposing of assets, and then the children would get the assets and try to take care of them and have the state step in.
That's right.
And if you built your whole life looking for pride and face, this is really hard to take, not only for the old people,
Right.
but for their children
That's
as well.
right. Nobody wants to do that, but sometimes that's the only choice. And for the rest of us as taxpayers, I mean, all of that is going
All
towards
bad.
increasing
Yeah.
the entitlement program line item, which, you know, increases the burden on our state budget. So it really is a very big societal problem.
So you found this by doing the manual part.
We did the manual
And
part.
then you're watching, you're learning, you're seeing how
Exactly.
everything worked.
Exactly.
What did you learn?
Well, you know, as with any business, you have your employees that are providing your services, and there's typically some level of supervision. Well, the first challenge we had was, well, supervisors were in the office, but the employees are in the home. So how could we get visibility into the home to ensure that our employees were delivering the quality of care we expected
Right.
for our customers?
Footnote to that is a problem in care homes in the state of Hawaii. It's a problem with seniors because they may not be able to protest if
Exactly.
something is going wrong.
That's exactly right. So basic things like showing up for work on time. When we go into the home, registered nurse creates what's called the plan of care. It's the tasks that need to be done every day by the caregiver in the home. The caregiver was manually documenting on pieces of paper that they completed this task. So there was no way to know for the supervisor in the office that the tasks were being completed. Not to mention, no way to know whether they even wrote the note. So if you came a month later and half the notes were not there,
What are you going to
what
do?
are you going to do at that point in time?
Yeah.
So it really bothered me a lot to be, one, charging these sums of money to customers and not be able to absolutely ensure that what we agreed we would do for you was being done in a quality fashion, in a way that was
It's
satisfactory.
really critical, because if you have this process going on properly, then you have a reasonable assurance that the old people are being taken care
That's
of.
right.
That's
And
what it yields.
That's exactly right. So the first question we had was, how do we create visibility into the home so that we could make sure that we had accountability to our staff and we could have accountability to our customers? So being able to put technology into the home, even if the senior did not have internet. Okay, so in the early days, when we first started this, sometimes we would have to actually install cable to the home because wireless and cellular wasn't what it was as it is today. The advent of 4G and LTE has completely changed the capabilities to do this effectively.
Yeah.
So number one, we'd have to put cable in. Number two, we'd have to put a computer in.
Yeah.
And it had to be a very smart computer that we could connect motion sensors to, blood pressure cuffs, weight scales, temperatures, blood glucose meters, as well as it had to be a touch screen that was very, very easy to use. Easy for our caregivers because many of them, English is their second language. So it had to be very simple. And for the seniors, because we wanted to make sure the seniors were engaged in their care, to empower them.
And to also get their attention.
Yes.
Because they could forget to do anything and everything and not pay attention.
That's exactly
And then
right.
the system doesn't help very much.
Right. And the goal would be to reduce the number of manual hours, right? You want to reduce the number of caregiver hours.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. We have to enable the senior to do as much as they can on their own, or the family, or some sort of volunteer resource to participate so they could reduce the number of paid hours.
And all of that technology, whatever expensive it was and it is still a lot cheaper than the manual system.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So even in the expensive days, that setup might cost about $2,000, but you compare that to $7,000 to $10,000 for a care home,
On and on.
or $15,000 for home care. You know, it became a more affordable solution. Today, it's much less than that. It's sub $500
Really, the technology.
to put everything in, and sub $200 to monitor it on a regular
So
basis.
interesting. The first time I looked at this, I saw a situation where the senior carried around a buzzer. And if the senior got in trouble, fell down, what have you, pushed the button.
Correct.
And then it would call somebody.
Right.
And that was, looking back down the road from now, that was really primitive. I'm sure you've gone a long way since then.
It has, but it's still the predominant technology
Sure,
today.
and the predominant risk,
Yes.
for that matter.
Exactly. But with the advent of 4G, LTE, internet in every home, tablets and touchscreen computers have really come down in cost. When we first started, the touchscreen computer that we used cost $1,800. Today, that's $300 to $400.
Yeah.
So it's become much more affordable. Even things like a Bluetooth blood pressure cuff used to be over $300. Today is under $100. So it's really becoming much more affordable now.
We're going to take a
To use
break in a
technology.
minute, Duane, but
Good.
let me, before we take the break, I just want to throw this at you. You are getting tremendous benefit out of the technology, but if the computers you're using are the same as the computers I'm using, they're imperfect. They break. They stop running. They do crazy, wild things and surprise you. This means that in order to have a continuing support for those seniors, to have a continuing process with the machinery you've installed, you have to have somebody go look, somebody be ready to fix it. How do you do that?
Well, I'll tell you about that. We've taken all of that type of equipment out. So now it is very, very, very simple. We put a hub in the home, plug it into the regular outlet, All of the devices auto pair with it. If it breaks, mail it and we'll send you a new one.
Simple as that.
And access to the program now is on your own iPad, your own tablet, your own phone, your own computer, all off the internet. Just download the application, you're there. So basically, there is no need for anyone to come to your home to install it. If you don't have internet, it's cellular. And it's just provided. It's very, very easy today.
If you don't have internet, it's cellular. So you're covered on both ends.
Exactly.
This is really important.
Yeah. The access to this type of technology today has just exploded over the last, I would say, 24 months.
Did I tell you how excited I am about this discussion?
Oh, good. I'm so glad because I am too.
We'll be right back. I can hardly wait. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I'm the host of Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii. We talk about why people should like science, why science is actually fun, how science is a dynamic and vital part of everyone's life, why everyone, every man, woman, and child on the planet should really know science, should love science, should be familiar with science. So it's a great show. People come on here and have interesting conversations with us. They tell us why they do what they do, why they love it, why we should love it too. I hope you'll join us every Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And of course, you can see it anytime on YouTube. Aloha.
Mahalo for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. We are a channel dedicated to raising public awareness about the importance of technology, energy, diversification, and globalism to the future of Hawaii. We broadcast and stream daily from 1 to 5 every weekday, and we broadcast on Olelo 54 and OC16 TV. All of our shows are archived on thinktechhawaii.com, and we hope to see you there. Aloha.
Okay, gee, that was too long a break, you know, I wanted to get back sooner. Duane Lankong, she's the CEO of Ho'okele Corporation, which is a wonderful example of an Act 221 company
Thank you.
that actually has succeeded and is doing good work all at the same time. It's just fabulous. And we're calling this senior technology at home, but it is the most full and ripe expression of that I've ever heard before here on Aging with Grace. So, okay, so now I'd like to know exactly how it works. Make me a senior. I'm pretty close to that now. Make me a senior, and I get up in the morning. What is this combination of technology going to do for me?
Okay, well, let's start with you being a healthy senior first.
Okay.
So you're independent, you're living at home, you take care of your own affairs. But say you live in a 2-story house, you sleep upstairs, and your living area is downstairs. So your children don't live with you, they don't even live in Hawaii. They're very afraid that you go down the stairs once a day and you're gonna fall.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing, we'll put motion sensors at the top and the bottom of the stairs. So when you get up in the morning, you'll pass through the motion sensor, and you might wave at it. And then the light will flicker, and you'll say, "I'm okay, family." And you walk down the stairs,
Okay.
and then you get to the bottom, and you wave at the other motion center, "I'm okay." And what that does is, on the system, it's collected those 2 sensor readings, and there's an algorithm in the program to say, if you've triggered one, and you haven't triggered the other within so many minutes, send an alert, a text message to someone, your son.
Yeah.
Because if one's not triggered after the other, you probably fell in between,
Sure.
right? So then, okay, so you go down to, fine. Son then wakes up on the mainland, and he looks on his cell phone, and he goes, all right, Dad got up, and he made it downstairs.
Yeah.
Great, I don't have to worry about him this morning.
And Dad says somebody's watching over me.
And Dad says, I live on my own, but I'm not alone.
Yes, great.
Okay? Now, I know all my children know that I'm okay this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the kitchen, I open my refrigerator, which has a sensor on it. So I prepare my food. My son knows, okay, I open the refrigerator. I put the tea kettle on, make my tea, turn off the stove. Signal goes, stove was turned off. So we know the stove is not on, forgotten to be turned off.
Yeah.
Go about my day. I've got motion sensors throughout the house. I'm out to my yard. The door goes open, son gets an email, a text message, Dad went outside, Dad came back in. So throughout the day, son can be seeing this streaming across his phone.
Yeah.
He knows that you're moving about your activities as usual. Now,
You're also going to have alarm situations, though. For
Well,
example, if
no.
there is no motion sensor activity at all.
Yes, so if there's no motion activity at all, it'll show up. There will be an alert to say, there's been no motion for 2 hours in the house.
Yeah.
Now, you could be just taking a nap,
Yeah.
right?
And that can be
Or-
explained. Yeah.
Exactly, but you usually will have a routine. So son might say, oh, it's 1 o'clock. Yeah, Dad usually takes a nap around 1.
Yeah.
If at 4 o'clock, he's still not moving around, then I'm gonna give him a call,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at least, again, peace of mind. The son is not worrying about this all day long. I wonder if my father fell down the stairs this morning. I wonder if he ate his breakfast this morning. I wonder if he took his medication. Oh, what is his blood pressure today? All
Or
of those
worse,
things.
a bad surprise.
Yeah,
Because he can intervene now if he knows there's a problem and save his dad's life.
yep. So
Yeah,
say there is no motion and
Yeah.
son calls, there is no answer. Then typically the son would arrange with a neighbor or maybe the maintenance person at the apartment to say, can you go check on my dad? Make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
Now, say dad has a heart condition and he has to take his medication, he has to watch his weight and his blood pressure. So sometime during the day, the computer will say, Jay, time to take your medication. And you, oh yeah, I forgot. Take your medication. The pillbox, when you open it, has a signal, generates a Bluetooth signal that the computer will say, Jay took his medication. And it's going to say, Jay, don't forget to take your blood pressure. You take your blood pressure,
Send it in.
presses it, Bluetooths it into the system. If it's within range, it'll be fine. If it's out of range, it might send a text message to your son. Jay's blood pressure was a little high today.
Very cool.
Okay, that's the type of technology. Even so, doctor has told you, Jay, you gotta lose some weight. So I want you to walk every day.
Okay.
So son gives dad a Fitbit.
Sure. Fitbit. Yeah.
Yep. And then the Fitbit transmits the steps. It goes into the computer system, and the son can see, oh, my dad took 30 minutes of steps today, or he hit his 6,000 step goal.
Yeah.
So the important thing there is that any of these Internet of Thing type devices, these, I call them gadgets. There's so many gadgets that can go into the smart home. They all can connect to one single system that on one app, the son can be seeing what's going
So
on.
that's your concept, to be inclusive.
Yes,
You want to be the sort of the skeleton of it, and to bring all the other technology in to work
right,
with it. Yeah.
right. So you're right, at the beginning, we talked about, okay, this is doing a lot of data collection and data reporting, right? As more and more data gets into the system can start to become predictive
How does that work?
as well. So people will begin to learn your patterns, one. So on an individual level, it can be predictive. At this time of the day, or Jay generally sleeps 5 hours. So doctor has changed the medication and all of a sudden, Jay's waking up every hour at night. That may be predictive of something. Or dad's all of a sudden going to the bathroom more often. It could be predictive of a health issue. When you start to take that data and put it in an aggregated level, at the population level, it's amazing what you can start to see.
Who makes the judgment and the prediction? Does the machine do it, or does it
No,
go-
right now it's still going through human
Yeah. But
observations.
somebody can come, and maybe it's the son, maybe it's the doctor, maybe it's you guys, and take a look at a pattern,
Yes.
see the changing patterns, and say, you better look at this. He's waking up every hour.
That's correct.
And this may be problematic. Talk to the doctor about it.
So certain things that are really well-known protocol-wise for medical, we can already put in. So things like weight gain, 2-pound weight gain over 2 days is a warning sign.
Yeah.
So it can create that.
What is it warning about?
Or you might be retaining water, which is not a good sign for people that have heart failure.
Yeah.
No, as we're learning, because doctors today don't have access to this information in the house, there are a lot of things that they don't know about what's going on in your day-to-day life that could be very helpful for them in their medical diagnoses. So, as particularly on the mainland, as we've gotten more and more clients now on the mainland, our customers are beginning to notice patterns in the aggregate. So we actually had a nurse, a very experienced nurse, say that, you know, I always knew that if this senior was on ABC drug and had XYZ family situation, 80% they'd be admitted to the hospital. He says, I always knew that instinctively as a nurse. But with the system now, I can actually see the data, and we're running reports on all the seniors that we have on this particular drug, because we also know their family situation, and we can prove now that there's a correlation. So they're able to correlate environmental and psychosocial issues with the medical issues to start to predict things like hospital admissions.
Now you have two kinds of data coming out of there. One is data involving the individual person that you're trying to predict on.
Right.
So you know that if there's trouble in the family, what have you, then there's an X% chance he's going to wind up in the hospital. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a learning experience. If you keep a record on it, it's data that you can use to predict, and in fact you can automate that.
Exactly.
But now I give you more. This is sort of like oncology in a way, because you're keeping large data,
Yep.
in large populations, and you say that, well, of the sample that we have, say here in Hawaii, people who have trouble with their family, 89.3% of them will wind up in the hospital if they have these factors playing.
Correct.
And that's external. That's not necessarily this individual.
That's correct.
Are you at that level?
Yes,
Oh.
we can do
Oh,
that.
that's pretty
But
good.
again, we just don't have enough people using this kind of thing yet to
Yeah.
collect all that data.
Yeah.
The more information we start to
The more
collect,
population you have, the more you can
the
take
more
that
trends
data.
you begin to
And you're going to be
see.
sensitive to gathering data from every source you can.
That is
Yeah.
correct. That is correct.
Whoa.
Because not only are we collecting sensor data, medical data, but we also can collect qualitative information, so questionnaires to family members. So you start to begin to, and even health journals, where the senior or the family member is journalizing what's going on every step of the way. Even just the notes of the caregivers, the observations of the time of day things are happening. You just begin to really understand what the life of a senior is like on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so physiologically.
And psychologically and
Everything.
environmentally,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
you're
and
monitoring
every-
so many things in the home that
State of mind. the
we've
whole
never
thing.
had information on before.
Okay, so you have gone light years since 2005.
Oh,
whenever it was.
tremendously, yes.
You've been working every day and every night on this, and you have written software
Yes.
that looks at all these things.
Yes.
When I made the movie, of O'Kaley a few years ago, I didn't see all these things. Now I saw a software as a service on a computer. I saw that, but I didn't realize all the
Oh,
things
it's
that were in the
evolved
pipeline.
tremendously.
So how do you do that, Duane? How do you do that?
How do
How do
I
you
do
make
that?
software like this?
I have a great team of developers and
Okay.
engineers and project managers that help us, as well as really fabulous customers that continue to give us feedback on how they're using the system and how they would like to evolve the system.
So your mission in life, at least one of your missions, O'Kaley, is to take all the information you're getting, write software to interpret it,
That's
keep
correct.
it and interpret
Right.
it, and then
So-
use it.
Circle back to what we originally said about eldercare being very hard and difficult and expensive.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I think you think, oh, technology would substitute the human care, but it really doesn't. It really enhances it and allows more people to be involved. So this is what we call the village. Yeah? So instead of a senior just being isolated alone at home, or now having to pay a caregiver hourly to come over, think of all the people that interact with the senior throughout their day. Their children, maybe a yard person, maybe a Meals on Wheels delivery person, maybe a food delivery person, a doctor, a neighbor, a union fellow. All of the people that can be involved can become eyes and ears for the senior if they're assigned a particular task, if they are alerted to certain conditions. But all of the people in your village have to be coordinated, as well as you have to be able to communicate.
How do you do that?
They all use the system. You can be authorized to have it on an app on your phone. So, for example, the Meals on Wheels delivery service is coming in once a week to deliver meals. If the family so chooses, they could authorize the Meals on Wheels to have an app on their phone to now say, delivered the meals. Mrs. Jones looked great today. She answered the door right away, and she was really in good spirits. The family having information like that, again, peace of mind. For the doctor that's trying to manage their health, tremendous peace of mind. Okay, today she was in good spirits. As opposed to the Meals on Wheels person saying, I rang and rang and rang the doorbell and nobody answered. And finally, she came to the door. She was disheveled, disoriented, and the house looked a mess.
Very valuable to know.
Very valuable
And
information.
you could make that into a little form where they
Absolutely.
check appearance, state of mind,
Right.
how long it took for her to get to the door. All that stuff could be routinized.
Exactly. Check, 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 check.
Yeah.
Then that goes into the repository for the village to see. So whether it's usually there's somebody that's coordinating everything for the senior, whether it's the adult daughter or a paid geriatric care manager, or even today primary care physicians are beginning to eke into that,
Sure.
particularly for fragile seniors. That bit of information that today is not captured. How much data is that? That's a very valuable information
It
in
is.
terms of being anticipatory that something might be going awry and dealing with it quickly.
Right, and if you'll have to write the software to take all of that and put it in, kind of see what the population is doing in general and find predictions out of that.
Right. So the initial step was create software that can collect all the data.
Right.
And that's what we have today. Now we have software that not only collects the data, but organizes it
Right.
in a fashion that authorized members of the village can view the data.
Yeah.
The next evolution will be much more of the predictive, okay, what's going on? How do we
So
correlate these
exciting.
things?
We should all live long enough to enjoy this as well.
I hope
You
so.
must not sleep at night with
Well,
the
I'm building this
possibility.
for myself because as I get old, I want to stay at home. I don't want to.
We're going to take another break,
Great.
Joanne. We come back, I'd like to, ask you about the challenges
Okay.
in developing a system like that. And I also want to talk about the implications on a broader scale now that you're on the mainland, and you can see at the 60,000 foot level, where is this going in our country and our world?
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Hi, my name's Cindy Matsuki, and I host the show High Growth with HTDC on ThinkTech Hawaii. This is the show where we talk about all things tech, innovation, entrepreneurship, and manufacturing, because there's so many things going on in Hawaii and more people should know about them. So this is the program that you can come and find out about all the things happening in Hawaii. And this show also airs on Olelo 54 along with ThinkTech Hawaii. And it broadcasts live every other Tuesday at 3 p.m. So don't forget, check out the show Tuesday, 3 p.m. every other week. High Growth with HTDC. Thanks.
This is Alice Lee Hagan, host of ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My show here at ThinkTech Hawaii is every Thursday from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. I bring in interesting guests from Hawaii, the mainland, and hopefully international guests in the future. Do join us on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. Aloha.
Okay, we're here learning so much, and our minds are expanding with Duane Lancome, the CEO of Ho'okele Corporation. So I wanted to ask, this is very ambitious, and you're at the cutting edge, pushing the envelope. You must have challenges. You must have situations where you have to dance. What are they like?
Well, of course, our biggest challenge is capital to do this, right? Because a lot of this is still R&D. It's very iterative, right? We put the system in, we get some customers, we use it, we learn, and we iterate, and we continue to evolve the system. So it's having the capital to power this kind of development to the point now where we've actually reached sales points, which is great, very liberating. Our investors love it. But then now it's capital to ramp up the sales, get the word out. Most people don't know these types of technologies are even available to them.
You should come on ThinkTech more often.
I'll make sure to sit right by the phone. So, you know, we were very grateful and appreciative that the state of Hawaii had the Act 221 program back in when we first started, because it enabled us to have the capital to do something that most people weren't even thinking about. That allowed us to build our program, our product to a level that then attracted mainland investors who saw our potential, made a significant investment, and allowed us to move to the mainland, which gave us access to more developers.
But what are you doing on the mainland specifically?
So on the mainland, we have spun out our technology company, and we're just selling the software now on the mainland. In Hawaii, we provide the combination of services and technology.
Hawaii is your laboratory.
Absolutely,
I got it.
absolutely. And yes, we want the seniors of Hawaii to be the first beneficiaries of everything that we do.
That you owe that to Hawaii.
Absolutely, that's my heart. And but now we're marketing the software to other companies like ours that can then get it out to more seniors and more families. And the idea is to get this capability to as many people as we can.
And you can learn from them.
And then we can continue to learn and grow.
Yeah, they're part of your extended laboratory, and then you can develop those algorithms based on a larger population.
Exactly.
That way.
Over time, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And the other challenge is keeping up with all of the gadgets in the marketplace. It comes out daily, something new is coming out. But it's really nice, big companies like Apple that have started coming out with the Apple Health Kit and whatnot, that really helps get people's mind attuned to what's possible.
But it's potentially competition. I mean, Apple...
No, not really.
Okay.
Apple's in the data generation field, right?
Fitbit, is Fitbit competition?
Fitbit too. Their point is to generate the data.
Okay,
right?
But not to interpret it the way you are.
Well, they do to some extent, but their population is generally the younger, healthier individual that's using a Fitbit. Very few people are actually taking that kind of data and then using it to interpret for seniors.
Now, I don't remember exactly what he does, but I believe to a moral certainty that you were there. This is a guy who has had medical issues himself and who is got a great position in Cisco, which is an unlikely company.
Intel,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was here about a year ago.
Yep.
And he talked about how Intel, I mean, my goodness, I wouldn't have expected this. Intel was getting into, senior technology.
Exactly.
What is he doing, do you recall?
So he heads up their research division. They too he was actually the one that really inspired me.
Really?
I heard him speak at a conference in 2007. And I just said, I got to do that.
Yeah.
And at the time, Intel had a product that they were just beginning to put out into the marketplace, but they wouldn't sell it to a small company. So that was actually interesting because as a tiny little company, I wanted that technology, but they wouldn't sell it to me because they only sold it to big companies. So that inspired me then to build something that everybody could use, because even a senior or a family that wanted that technology couldn't have it. And it just bothered me to no end that I couldn't have it. So I made my own.
That's the way to go. Someday they'll come around and ask you for it.
I don't know.
By the way, I don't remember his name, but we did interview him on this show.
Oh, wonderful.
When he was here.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
And you can find him on our site, thinktechhawaii.com, and see that interview.
Yeah.
Might be useful. But anyway, so now let's go to the last major topic about what is going to happen here. We have the bell curve is changing. It's changing all over the world. Different speeds at different places. They say Europe, is not all that fertile. U.S. is in the middle. Japan is not fertile particularly. China is going to become more fertile now that they changed the one-child rule.
Yep.
And I don't know what other countries, but it's different countries.
Right.
The one thing is clear is that people, because of modern medicine, are going to live longer.
That's right.
More seniors around, and more problems with seniors around. So you're the world, really, literally, more than any example of how this works is your oyster,
Yeah.
because everybody's getting older.
That's correct. And, we started this conversation saying how expensive it is, and many countries have a higher proportion of elderly than the US does. And they're already feeling the pressure. Japan, China, Europe in particular, Korea, they all have and China, interestingly, because of the one-child policy, is very inverted. They have more elderly than younger people.
They should have changed the rule a long time ago.
And even the young people are leaving the country.
Yeah.
So there's not enough resources. Here in Hawaii, there's not enough caregivers. There could not possibly be enough caregivers to serve all of the needs. So consequently, as supply and demand goes, the cost is rising, making it more and more unaffordable. So it's really essential that this kind of technology will help to engage the village. We have to utilize the family members, all of the resources around the senior, including the senior themselves, to participate in keeping them at home, as opposed to just hiring people to do that on your behalf.
Yeah.
That's just not going to be a sustainable model going forward.
Yeah.
That will be a component of it, particularly as you get very frail. You will always need that.
Yeah.
And the institutional setting of care will always be necessary as you get very, very frail. And there's a point where it's not safe to stay at home.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority, the bell curve that are at home, we have to come up with cheaper alternatives.
And that period will be longer for people. You know?
Exactly.
The time you enter your retirement, becoming frail years, until the time you die is going to be a longer time, all the time.
Yes.
Life expectancy, modern medicine.
So we have to find alternate ways to deliver that care to enable our seniors to stay independent and empowered and stay at home. And we just have to think differently.
But I'll give you a challenge, which you probably already thought about, because you're way ahead of me. I can't possibly keep up with you. So you talked about this case study person, this elderly fellow, who's being tracked around his house with the technology, and it reports to his son, in your case, on the mainland. But there's a lot of people with no sons on the mainland.
Yes.
A lot of people who, no children, or for whatever reason, there's nobody they can contact, nobody at the other end of that phone. And it seems to me that we're ready for a new career. We're ready for, it's sort of like the 911 kind of thing, where it's like a call center, I think, where you get the call, the alarm, the risk assessment, and then you at the phone, with this career, you make a decision as to how to handle this. You may not know this person from Adam,
right?
But
there are many companies like Ho'okele that are evolving into this kind of a service.
Are you doing this now?
We do help those that have no family members here. And we can have we would receive the alerts on your behalf and respond as a surrogate child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and there's kindness in that, because if you didn't, who would?
Right, and even something as little as a phone call once a week. How are you, Jay? Are you okay this week? And having a 10-minute conversation.
With a stranger, it's okay, because it's still a human connection.
Exactly.
It's very important. And
it's many of our seniors get caught by fraud because they're calling and they're spending 10 minutes talking to you, and then, you want to buy this?
Yeah.
And they do, because they're grateful for the phone call.
They need the contact, yeah.
So I do see more of those types of services emerging. And again, you need the technology to connect all of the people that can do that, to really create that safety net around the senior to allow them to stay at home.
It's like an unlimited number of possibilities.
It really is. It's really up to your imagination today. Now, that case study we went through, just as an example, at the time we were introduced into the family, they wanted to move him to a care home because they were so worried about him falling down the stairs and leaving the stove on and, you know, all of those things. And he was able to stay out of an institutional setting for almost 3 years. And he only went in because he fell and was hospitalized, and then unfortunately declined very quickly after that. But so for 3 years, he was able to stay at home.
Well, those are 3 gift years. But I think we won't have time for it, but it strikes me that, you know, there are issues about mental capacity, get older, and
Yep.
those are going to increase with age, the
Yep.
risk increases. And this is, I leave you with this final thought and your reaction to it, please. You know, right now, you're dealing on a residential level. But there's, my guess, there's also going to be a new institutional level here of care homes that are relatively cheap because they use technology like the technology that you can offer them. A whole new market for you, don't you think?
Yes, and not just for the care home though. Where I see the care home of the future is they will have technology like this, but not just to use in their own home. They will become hubs that spoke out into the community. So many of these residential care homes are in residential neighborhoods. There are nurses there and nurse aides there,
Yeah.
and they have prepare meals, and they have some transportation services, they have activities. Imagine that care home outreaching to the neighboring neighborhood,
And serving
serving the
neighborhood.
neighboring neighborhood outside just what they can do in their 4 walls.
Lovely. Well, it's a family
Right.
clinic, if you will,
Right.
and to offer one level more of care than you could offer physically in a person's home.
Right. So maybe someone on the street next door needs blood pressure monitoring. There's no reason why that care home could not be providing that kind of a service.
It's
To
where
a neighbor.
It's where it's going to end.
Yeah. And so it'll not just be for those residents who are living there, but they could also outreach to 10 to 20 more families
Right.
using the same human resource. So
Right.
this is where you're leveraging the human resource to not just help 5 people, but help 25 people.
Have you ever thought that you were born to do this?
I don't know, born to. I mean, my accumulated experience has led me here, but it's certainly very satisfying
Yeah.
to see that we actually can give families peace of mind and help their seniors stay at home. It's
Okay,
very
well,
satisfying.
as you migrate to the position of a CEO of a very well-funded and public company, I hope that you'll still talk to me.
Oh, absolutely, Jay.
That's Duane Lancon, CEO of O'Kelly, here on Aging with Grace. We're talking about senior technology at home and beyond. Thank you so much, Duane.
Thank you, Jay.